Well, we want to thank the ECN for expediting our application. Remember, it's the first time that any political party is registering under the new law that requires you to demonstrate 50% of support in the country. So it in itself is a milestone in which the new law was tested, and we have experiences about the new law and how it can be corrected and should be corrected, because we find that the requirements within the law are not necessary in a democratic society. It has to be changed. But we are happy, Zacchaeus, to answer your question quite obviously, particularly because there was a person who is apparently a deputy minister from one of the political parties that are soon to be out of power, who came here having taken an oath of office to uphold the laws and the Constitution of the Republic of Namibia, having come here and lodging an objection to a statutory body. A very important point that I'm making. A person that has taken an oath of office to uphold the laws of the Republic and the Constitution of the Republic, coming to a statutory body, pretending to launch an objection in personal capacity. Which objections, by the way, according to our expert report that has done forensic and microscopic analysis of the writings, handwritings and signatures, who says, as part of his conclusion, that all the handwritings and most of the signatures were produced by one and the same person. That individual person, having come here to lodge an objection with the intent to, with fraud and fraudulent ideas, influence the decision of a statutory body. That is something that we'll have to ask the Speaker to comment on, because once you're a member of Parliament, having taken an oath of office, your conduct as it relates in particular to all statutory bodies must be one in which you respect the very laws and regulations of those bodies. You can't come and do things that are unbecoming and pretend that that action is a personal action. Cannot work. But nonetheless, fortunately, because of our advice and our legal input, we raised these questions to the ECN. Whether, for instance, a proxy objection can be allowed. And clearly, there cannot be a proxy objection. You can't generate all the names that you are using to apparently be removed from the LPM list. Obtaining those names, all of it, from the work of political party operatives in a region, and you now privatize those names and using those names, that data from a political party, and launching it as any other person, that's abuse of the law. And at least the ECN, for some reason, had some logic to understand our deliberative and thoughtful logic. And so therefore, it is a defeat, an extraordinary defeat of nincompoops, of idiots, of half-wit, half-schooled, half-baked, half-cooked, half-literate, half-working, half-healthy individuals who think that because they have legs on GRN cars, that they can come here and impose their will on statutory institutions. That person and those with whom that person is associated must feel the shame today. They must feel the shame. How can a young person that is the age of Swartbooi speaking here, who sat with me in the Youth League as we were talking about democracy, as we were sharing information and concerns when we were in Swartbooi Party Youth League, about corruption, about nepotism, about anti-democratic behavior of the antique Kenkop and others. How can such an individual become so extraordinarily cheap that you go and try to be brave and lodge an objection to people that you yourself know are supremely intelligent than you are, Mr. Deputy Minister, whoever you are? You know that Deputy Minister, you know it. I'm speaking to that Deputy Minister. You know that your intellectual capacity can never match even a chicken who's a member of LPM. You know it, and you know who you are, Deputy Minister. You know who you are. And so therefore, what we are saying is, we have prevailed. We have prevailed, and we will continue to prevail because the revolution has just started. We are sharpening the debate, but more than that, we are sharpening the solutions to the crises of this country. What are those issues? The freedom, that's why I have read Jersey on today, overall on. The freedom that was brought about by the blood of our people from the 19th century on. Immediately from the 22nd of March 1990 was changed into a revolution of corruption. A corruption that helped Semni Yoma, Bohamba, Hage Geingob, and the ministers and the governors and the deputy ministers to live lives of lavish while others are languishing in poverty, hunger, and disease. Hepatitis has broken out again, yet again, in Windhoek. So the scourge of corruption will be dealt with. Many of the ministers will become bandits. They will become bandits. They will come from the prison cell to the courtroom, and then they will go back to the prison cell. Because we will release all the commission reports. If they try to remove them, if they try to remove those commission reports, we will instigate new reports, investigations, as they are doing in South Africa, so that we know who has bought underpants, who has bought t-shirts and other things for these politicians that are so rich. So that is one. The issue of corruption, we are going to deal with it. And in dealing with it, we will close down the ACC. It is an unproductive organization that has no value to the agenda of transforming this country, and will strengthen the Ombudsperson's office. At the same time also, we will be pushing for legislation that will transform the Prosecutor General's office into not as it is a lifelong office, but an office for 2 terms, 5 years only, and to hire competent individuals that essentially also have private sector experience as lawyers. You can't just have prosecutorial experience and become a prosecutor general. You will have to have other types of experience also, to have litigated as a defense lawyer, to understand all sides of what litigation involves, and that you are able therefore to be more craft competent and craft literate. Number 3, we are going to reduce ministries from 26 idiots to 13 competent people. We are going to remove useless deputy ministers who are on a perpetual training. Some apparently have gone to China. We don't know what they have brought back from China. And they are fighting with their minister for the Chinese trip. So we're going to reduce ministries from 26 to 13. We will not appoint any governor because it's a waste of office. Can you look at Usko Ngamwa and think that man can help transform Ohangwena? Can you look at Lucia Basson or Mushavikwa or Laura MacLeod or whoever, Otto Ipinge? What do they sit there and do? And therefore, that wastage called a governor, we will remove it. And we will have people in the regional councils through LPM that are able to look people in the eye and say, I feel your pain. I feel your homelessness. I'm going to dedicate my life and my position to transforming your life, so that you have a home, so that you have a piece of land, so that you can have your dignity restored. And that is what LPM will be doing, to fight every day from now on, as we have done for the past 2 years, to look at ways in which you can restore people's dignity. Whether you are in Seventeland or Achterland, time has come. If you don't have a plot, LPM is going to give you a plot free of charge. We are not going into this as an election gimmick. We are not interested in election gimmicks. We are interested in transforming lives. If you are in Seventeland in DRC, you are going to get a plot free of charge. Mark my words, free of charge. At least that which is called land, we have not manufactured it with a foreign direct investment or anything of that sort. It is God's given land that is there, 300-400 square meters. We are Namibia. We are going to give you land free of charge, those in the informal settlements, so that you can eventually develop your own piece of land with our help, with our unity, with our solidarity, and that you can have a dignified life. To those who have farms from the times of the German occupation to the Afrikaner occupation, we'll have to share. We are not going to stand down and change our tune on the question of land, agricultural and commercial land, simply because we need people's vote. We are not. As we said, LPM is about a long-term commitment to the people of Namibia, a bond that cannot be broken, a bond of justice that will satisfy Kutako while he's in his grave, that will satisfy Esai Gobs while he's in his grave, that will satisfy Maharero while he's in his grave, and that will pain Niyoma, that will pain Hage Geingob, that will pain Bohamba, and all others who are refusing to meet the needs of the people. And so therefore, in terms of young people, jobs we are going to create. One of the things that we are looking at is to say, if you are 55 years old, we are going to probably ask you to take a voluntary pension and probably look at how we can give you a tax exemption so that you don't have to suffer the pain of losing a lot of the pension amount because you are leaving early. Why? Because the civil service is too heavy and the productive sectors cannot get sufficient investment because about 30 billion is spent on salaries. We need to get that money and invest it in productive, transformative economic sectors that will generate wealth and well-being for our people. For young people, you are part of our priority. In this regard, up to first degree, we are thinking, up to first degree. Remember, we'll have our conference. Up to first degree, we're going to have state-sponsored tertiary education and vocational training education. Just last night, I met an auntie that has two kids that have 47 and 48 points in grade 12, but they cannot get scholarship because NSFAS has no more resources. Those kids are now looking for waitering jobs and for taxi driving jobs. That you can't tolerate. And so therefore, in terms of agrarian reform, we are going to create massive spaces of land that will be occupied by food production, that will occupy many hands, as we are going to create many jobs and so on. But fundamentally, we are not going to be a party that people think is an opposition. LPM is an alternative. We are ultimately the alternative that Namibia has been waiting for. Reducing government expenses, investing in agriculture and productive sectors of the economy, ensuring tertiary education is made available to all our children, including vocational training, including also that we are going to generate the kinds of incentives necessary for the domestic private sector to invest in rural areas and so on. We are also going to ensure that the ocean economy is better utilized. You can't have 177 rights given on this whole vast area of our ocean and only a few people benefiting. Those resources, our contemplation is to deploy those resources in villages and small towns where they need economic activity to bolster action for a better life. In respect of our international commitment, we will have a human rights approach. For instance, our views are that in Zimbabwe, it does not make any more sense that you have sanctions. They argue that the sanctions are targeted and that it only looks at disciplining few individuals within the regime. But I've been in Zimbabwe for a week and I've seen how sanctions have destroyed the lives of ordinary Zimbabweans. So we are of the view that it is time for the sanctions in Zimbabwe to be lifted. The other issues around governance and the security agents, that has to be dealt with. But SADC is so useless. If today SADC had a standing army to say to the Zimbabwean military that if you continue to abuse Zimbabweans, SADC military force is going to intervene, no SADC country would have misbehaved. No SADC country would have misbehaved. And you find Mr. Ghetto Kengo, who certainly is born in a ghetto. All the time he was born under a tree. Certainly his place of birth has shifted from a tree to a ghetto. That person, who is not even honest about where he was born, is boasting that he has cell phone numbers of 20 heads of state. Who cares about it? We don't care about, Mr. Kengo, how many cell numbers you have. We care about you as SADC chairperson, intervening where necessary to save lives and to promote democracy and to defend the institutions of democracy. And that's why it's important for us. Remember, this country is not a democracy. We have had to undergo harassment. We have had to undergo insults. We have had to undergo many cars following our people trying to block them. We have had to undergo lies and treacherous actions in order to get here today. And we are going to pay back in kind those that have done injustice to us. But remember, I want to analyze and say the following. LPM is not first about reconciliation. You are wrong. We are first about restorative justice. And because justice will be so good that it satisfies the hearts and minds of our people that have been exterminated by the Germans, our people who are just confined to Mahangu plantations, our people in the Kavango that are suffering because of a lack of water, our people in the Kunene who are suffering because of 7-8 years of drought without any serious assistance. Because of these people, we are saying justice is number one. Then reconciliation. Not reconciliation first and then justice, but justice first and therefore reconciliation. And that is why we also do not believe in the rule of law. We believe in the rule of justice. And therefore, any law that is not a just law will have to be subjected to the rule of justice. And we have so many laws that are unjust laws. And we'll have to change those laws to ensure that laws are just, that laws are fair, and then we will believe in the rule of law. This rule of law is a creation by philosophers at a time when the state of society was different and when the state of society was still not developed and conformist as it is today. We have moved far away from it. It's the rule of justice that is supreme. And at the end of the day, LPM is about the people governing, not about the elites governing. Not about elites that are angry when they are asked about things and say, don't lecture us on ghettos, and who shift their focus of place of birth depending on which question a journalist asks. We are the new ones on the horizon. For young people, don't stand down. Your best weapon is your vote. Come, join this journey of justice. Join this pilgrimage that has new vitality and vigor in it, that we are so inspired and encouraged about. We are saying it is a new day, a new march, where hope is reborn, where people can love, where we can say we love this country because this country takes care of me and I will do my best to take care of my country. Not where the country is corrupted by the old. If you multiply just the age of Bumba and Hake, you have more than 140 years of old furniture that is even breaking apart. We don't want old furniture that you have to stitch together in order for them just to listen to you. We are the new ones that are saying change has come, change has come. Restoration of the dignity of people, that is supreme. I'm sorry, I'm not assaulting you, but we are just excited. We are just excited. We are very excited. Yeah, we are very excited. And therefore, those political parties that are continuing to conform to the whims of Swartbooi, continue to conform. We know that they are stealing the message of LPM in Aranos and feeding people pap and fleas in order to get people to come at the meetings in Aranos. We know them. We know them. We pity them. It's about a message and it's about trust. Those other opposition parties, we reach out to you to work with us. But if you want to be indisciplined, we will discipline you. And those in OPPO, the Old People's Organization, the Old People's Organization, OPO, those ones, chalatate, Papa, chalatate, Mama. Shaningwa, go home, go home, go home, go home. It's chalatate. They must go home. They have become blind. They have become deaf. There is no more purpose for them to serve. Look at Kengo. A simple, nonsensical decision, he starts, I don't know the law. Then shut up, Mr. Kengo. If you don't know the law, shut up. Then he goes and says, reinstate Kanime, reinstate Kahimisa, and go and doctor it. So we are not going to allow them to doctor here. This year, when the results are out, and the results don't conform to our wishes, we will have massive civil unrest. Massive civil unrest. From Korigas to Keetmans, from Opuo to Oshinene, we will have unrest like the world has never seen before. And it will not be business as usual. Yaro? Opuo nu?